Tshegofatso,
Hi, Kamo.
how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Awesome. Or should I say the mamzo?
So
you're telling me the story the other day. How do you feel? Because when I go around the city, a lot of young guys call me Malome. Well, that's not a problem for me, but it's a big deal when someone calls you the mamzo.
It is, because there's a lot that comes into play. Sometimes you look at it, okay, no, this is just marketing. This person is just trying to show me, no, I value you and I see a potential customer in you.
Yeah.
But sometimes you think about it like, I'm not even parenting well. I don't know what I'm doing with this life thing.
They don't even know anything about you anyway.
I get that, but it references to, hey, I don't even realize what I'm doing with this life thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah. What do you think? Do they judge you by your body?
They do, obviously.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, even if I didn't like it, it was going to happen. So I need to find a way to deal with it, cope with it, understand it, and understand that sometimes it's projection, sometimes it's not even much to it.
Yeah.
It's
that's how we play. I think Botswana, we like calling each other names
a lot.
Yeah. So what are some of the names that guys pick you up on?
So I've had my fair share of kakasi. And
what? What does that mean?
Kakas, like a body, like a kakas, like a dead body, but a body.
Yeah.
Then they would Shobinasi,
do women actually like it or you hate it?
I'll tell you one thing that makes me laugh. I remember one time somebody said, when a broke guy says,
whatever that is,
that alien animal, when a broke guy is inboxing a girl, he could literally just say, hi, I'm interested, I'd like to make your acquaintance. He could have his words right and everything.
Yeah.
And a guy who's well off could just say, hi. And then you, with all the poetic attempts, you get nothing out of it, But just that high. So it depends on, I think normally it depends who's saying what.
Yeah.
Who's saying what matters most.
You've already chosen your person, so by the time the guy comes, like you already know, you profiled. All these guys are profiled. FBI has nothing on us when it comes to profiling. Yeah.
We know everything by the time that we need to know it, how we need to know it, and what it's going to relate into everything. So the mamzo, if it's those guys sitting by the car show here, that's irritating. But if
that's how some there's some ladies who like older guys.
Yeah.
And they call you mommy, you call them papa. It's actually a thing for some people.
It is.
Yeah. Cool, man. So thank you so much for coming through.
I'm good to be here.
How do you like Gaps more or Mau more?
I love Mau.
What's happening in Mau? Komchi.
I like the hospitality of the people. I like the fact that there is not a lot of pressure. You get to be authentically you. At least for me, I get to be authentically myself. And I love the relaxation. I love it. There's a lot of culture in Mau. Different people, different cultures. There's a lot to learn. And maybe it's just the exotic bird theory. I didn't grow up there, so I find it more enticing, just like somebody who grew up elsewhere would find Gaborone a lot more interesting because it's not what they've known.
So you grew up in Gabs? Lidumang?
Lidumang. Lidumang.
Lidumang. So
through and through.
Lidumang is a hood, right?
It is.
How was it growing up in Lidumang? Broadhurst.
I grew up in Lidumang, and there's this analogy that I had that you could boil a potato and boil an egg. The potato is going to become softer.
Okay.
The egg is going to get harder. The circumstances are the same. It just depends on what you're made of. So
what has Liduma made you? Softer or harder?
Ludumang has made me a whirlwind. I'm everything that I need to be, when I need to be, how I need to be. It's made me very versatile. There's an aspect of being street smart from it. There's also so much that I learned that I'm honing and molding it into anything and everything that I could become. But that's where it started. And that's where I go to recoup. I could be facing the world out there and I'm like, yeah.
So you're used to this, the lifestyle there, and you fit well in the city life, in the suburbs. You rock.
I do. Like I said, I'm very versatile. It could be about, I grew up Goludumang, but I went to St. Mary's. So you're growing up Goludumang, the socio-economic status Goludumang, averagely, people are living very below the standard. Okay. And then you get to St. Mary's, it's a private school. Most people are affluent, you know. So when you get to Lidumang, you're too bougie to be with us because you go there.
Without even saying anything. People know you go there and they're like,
how mate, you know? And then you get to school, you're like, Miss Ma'am, you're out of place. Aside, because this is
so there's
not...
always that...
yes.
Okay, cool. And you've been... Did you go to Tswana Medium?
Yes, I did. I
How
went
was the
to
shift
Marang.
for you?
I would love to think having the assertion of family. I knew who I was and it didn't shake me. Like, I'm not going to go to Marang to have you who just met me tell me who I am. I know who I am. You understand? So if I'll
just lie.
When you have a problem with that, that's not my fish to fry. You fry your fish and eat it. You understand? I show up as me. That's the one thing that I'm grateful for, is I always get to be me.
You didn't get bullied?
Nobody would get far with that, I promise you.
Nobody
would get far with that.
Girl. No one is gonna do that to you.
You can try.
Where did that come from? From the streets? From growing up in the area? Or is it you can't...
it's very funny because nobody expects that out of me, because I had brothers growing up. So they're always there to protect me. And the thing about my mom, it's worse than my brothers. You get... Okay. My mom, you can't play with her kid. Don't ever find yourself trying to do that. You understand? So people would think, I wouldn't be, because I've always had people there for me, I wouldn't be able to be there for me. But it could be genetics, it could be just the nature and nurture thing.
You still like that as a grown woman?
Yeah.
No one plays with you?
No. Like I told, like I said, like I've told you this before, Gabo. You cannot afford to be going through this life thing being docile. People cannot exist with no exception. If I do this to you, people cannot perceive you as that. You're not safe if people don't fear.
But you know, the reason I'm saying that, not a lot of young girls think like that, or actually have the appetite, the energy to stand up for themselves. You know that, right?
Because they become ridiculed. But what's the worst that could happen after you ridicule me?
Are you a feminist?
Yes, I am. Actually, be glad that I'm masquerading as a feminist, because I do think I'm misandrist, actually.
What does that mean?
A misandrist is a woman who believes in the superiority of women. You believe not just in their equality,
Okay.
to masculinity, but there's superiority to that.
Hey, I never thought
Check that.
there's anything like that.
Check
So,
that.
so what does that mean? If doesn't that intimidate your partners or guys around you, really?
That would not be a proper response for them to have, because
You don't think.
if that's their response, then they're just proving my point that yes, I'm
How
superior.
how do you look at a guy who is intimidated by that?
By me,
Yeah.
we wouldn't work out. Let's not waste each other's energy and time. We wouldn't work out.
Not a lot of women are like that. So you grew up as a PK.
I am.
You are.
I am.
How's that like for you? How so growing up in a church, your parent is a pastor. Does it have limitations in the way you live?
I don't live in an island. I don't live. And in comparison to that, and how I chose to live, and how I was privileged to live, I think I got the bigger slice of the cake. I had it easier, honestly, than maybe all of them. You know.
A lot of preachers' kids, grow up like looking over the fence.
Yes.
It looks like it's nice outside. You're not implying that was your life. You always
Never.
have the freedom.
Never.
How come? What kind of?
Why?
How is it like? How is your household like? Like I would have thought, you were raised to be quiet, to be the submissive one, But so far I see it. That's not you.
No, that's not me.
How come? How did the spiritual side of your parents raise you? And yet you became not the normal,
Like I said, I was very fortunate and privileged to be raised by a preacher who's a human being. He's human. He's not. He understands. He's realistic. You understand? He's realistic. He has allowed me the freedom to be me, and he emulated that by being himself, to speaking on what he wants to speak in. He would get suspension letters from Botswana Council of Churches that you can't do this, you cannot. Yeah, because there was one time, I don't remember the name of the American pastor who had come to Botswana, and he was speaking against the LGBTQ plus. On radio.
Oh, the white guy, I remember.
Yes.
They deported him, eh?
Yeah, that guy. Great. So that guy, they had an altercation with my dad because my dad was like, no.
Was he on radio with him? Oh,
in
so that
studio.
was your dad. I remember
Yes.
vaguely. Yeah.
In studio.
Yeah.
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 It got heated. It actually got into a physical altercation from that incident.
Yeah.
You understand? So if he's free to be himself, he does what he wants, he goes where he wants, he rides bikes. He's part of like a huge riders club. He owns bikes. He wears earrings. He does what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. He expresses himself. So I get to have that freedom that not many people had.
And how's the church like? As in, generally the culture in the church, does it accommodate that kind of a person? I know you're saying he's a person, but I think it's church, Lutheran church,
Yes,
right?
yeah, we're Lutherans.
It's a mainline church.
It is.
So I see it, it strikes me as a very traditional kind of church. Is it the same? Does he tend to fight with the traditional people in the church?
That is where it comes back to what I said. You cannot afford for people to not perceive danger when they relate with you.
That's his philosophy as well.
People cannot have a platform to just say anything out of pocket that they want to say to you. And you cannot afford people to restrain you. Because one thing, it becomes habitual. If they say don't do this, you don't do it. Then they're not going to be content with you just giving that one aspect up. They're going to expect you to give up more, And now they know they have that power and they just exercise it willy-nilly. Don't do this, don't go there, don't wear this, don't do that. So I never had to go through that, you know. I never had to go through that. And like I said, I'm very vocal and I speak up for myself. I don't go out starting fights. I don't just get into unnecessary conversations. But you have to know you do not have any platform to come up to me and say, don't do this, because I'll answer you. Yes, I am.
You're so proud about it.
It saves me from dealing with a lot of things that are nonsensical. Yeah, it really saves me from that. You know, people can just be like, and those people who just, I don't know if they get a sense of worth or belonging from go kharakgatsa batho or go bua le batho demeaningly. Nobody's picking me up for that. Nobody's picking me to toy with me for their own entertainment, because they know.
And as you say, you've taught your parents to understand. You've taught
No,
them
I'm
to-
raising them right. I'm raising them right.
Let's go back to what you were saying about the kind of your dad's philosophy.
Yeah,
He speaks for gay rights.
he does.
How does the church feel about that?
The thing is, there's no spokesperson for the church, you know.
Okay.
The people who would be like, we love the inclusive, that you're trying to make this inclusive for everybody, because is raising
A child like that.
a child like that, and they feel like, oh, at least wana ke gana go siela ko lehatsing kwa ya go sutlwa ke batho o gona go feel gore there is accommodation here for me. And then gona le batho ba ileng gore people go through a lot. Go gone tlhole le gore mosadi mo lapeng o tlogetswe ke rre to go join that community, so she's hostile because of that. You understand? But I think at some point, when you deal with anybody and everybody, understand gore there's something at the core of them that's making them behave like that. So even if she could be angry at him for that, maybe the anger is just towards her situation, not him personally. So there are people who are against it, some people are for it, but he knows what he's for.
Do you think he has pressure though?
No. Pressure could be there, but he doesn't succumb to it. Same as I don't.
Did you when you were growing up, because the community put you on that pedestal and they expect certain things from you just by virtue of being a preacher's kid?
No, they didn't, because I think he had just laid out a perfect foundation for me. You know, he has told people, Modimo Hambizan is a conference call, don't abuse my child.
he only did to and he was that's true, but you have to live with people.
Yes.
How do you
We are not
qualify
oblivious to that.
Yeah.
We are not oblivious to re tshela le batho, re tshwantse re nne le setho, re tshele amicably with other people.
Yeah.
But can the amicably not come at the expense of me bottling up in a corner?
Oh, I see where it's coming from. I think it's quite different, like I would have expected, the more traditional way, and a lot of preachers' kids, because of, the traditional, kind of reason that I was thinking, they tend to digress. They tend to, and trying to, because they want to live their own lives, but they are governed by this thing that, there's bounds when it comes to, my parents. Yeah, we're trying to each other sentle. My parents are, my kids are Kemuruti, so my kids should behave like this. So you're saying at all you didn't have that pressure? Hey, hey.
I won the lotto.
You won the lotto. Cool. So, but the church is is mainline, like you're saying.
It is.
Yeah. So, but there's still traditional people, like older people in the church.
Very old people.
Is there a lot of young people in the church?
The thing about being Lutheran, my experience with it, you really need to be born Lutheran. That's my experience with it.
What you're saying, people who are not born in the church don't fit well.
They seem to struggle, which is odd to me because there's a lot of the accommodating. It's a lot more relaxed. But they could find their feet in it, but I think it's a doctrine that's been there like from 15, 17. So there are times when it gets to Holente, we dimase, Holente, we don't wear red to celebrations, rapara pepoleka di pitlo, rapara red for the all those things. Some people may struggle to integrate into if they didn't grow up in. But baba kholetse mo kerekeng. You know, I think the best thing about being a Lutheran, wa kolobediwa wa tlhomamisiwa. But if you have never come to the Lutherans and said,
you never left.
You never left. How is you
okay.
Yeah. So I think it gives people
Do you get, more older people in the church trying to force young people to live a certain way?
They do. But I don't think in the church it's the same as baka advisor outside being because Botshelo is changing and it's not like it's not frightening them. And regardless that they're older, it's their first time here, It's not like they have rehearsed
for the first time in life.
It's not like they've rehearsed for this moment and they know what should happen. So it's just parental instinct. Not no. Parental instinct. Let me try and guide one.
Give an example. Something that happened.
I think a spokesperson is on my bed, but
yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? You need to learn how to read situations in people. How much I did from concern this which I perceive as a danger. It's very different from you understand? So you read the situation,
she's
just being a parent. Yeah, you accommodate that. You accommodate that.
And you'd have a problem if it's out of ridicule. Someone is trying to they're imposing their issues on you. Yeah. Cool. And what are some of the philosophy also in Lutheran church? I don't know a lot about church. I grew up in Methodist.
Okay. And I was part of a choir which was Lutherans and Methodists.
Oh, okay.
And we called it Lutherist.
Lutherist.
Yeah.
Was an outside church. It was just young people or.
Yeah, not. It was Lutherans, Methodists, just a choral choir.
Okay. Did you have church trips? What happens there?
Wouldn't you love to know?
Hey, because trips, I hear there's a lot that happens in church trips. Young people.
Yeah.
Young people are young people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, we're not aliens, though we go to church. So we'll do what young people would do even on any other trip.
But they don't drink, right?
They don't.
Okay, talking about drinking, Lutheran church, do you have Holy Communion? Do you drink juice? Red
is juice.
What is it?
Yeah, old brown sherry.
Old brown sherry. You don't. Hey, that's alcoholic.
I know. What a chap like a Saturday. But jokes. No, but
So-
it's
No, it's small. But who keeps the bottle?
church council, committee,
Okay.
ya puteho, muruti,
You
whoever has
you,
way.
you shouldn't bring alcohol in the church. My opinion.
Okay.
Although the church should be open to everyone. Some people, people come from different backgrounds. Some people go to church so that they stop drinking, and when they get a taste, like, hey, this thing reminds me of where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
So table a look committee or the religious.
Hey, red grape, please.
Yeah.
Hey, and then you can get like the mature members of the church. They can have brown sherry.
I can suspend you for this. It's on you.
So you're into tourism.
Yeah.
How's the tourism landscape in the northern part of Botswana? How is it? Who actually goes there? Who's growing the industry?
It's very untapped by natives. Very untapped. It's a huge market. It's a huge platform. Kuri if nearly bend. It wona hela. Ngabe go torna re letsa tamborini hela.
Hey, so it will look everything but not black, Botswana.
Honestly, there's not enough of us in the doing what we should be doing, how it should be done. We are letting people tell a story that's not natively theirs. So how they relay that story is inept. There's a lot of aspect they shot thing because it's not theirs. They're not wrong. They're not telling it wrong. They're just not doing it well enough as it should be by people who know what it is.
Is it expensive to set up businesses in tourism? Is it really expensive?
It is.
Why don't Botswana do it? Well, not a lot. I don't know if there's some Botswana who actually have.
They are, but it costs a lot. The regulations around it are tiresome.
What regulations? The regulations should be made by Botswana. Why should they be difficult for Botswana? What are some of the things that are hard?
Gone hela license ya go ka operate inside the park.
It's expensive.
It's hard to get. It's expensive. There's so much legalities into it. An ordinary Botswana wouldn't afford. A few people do, and I mean a few.
Okay, and who's mostly clients in those areas? Can Botswana afford to?
We don't.
Like, give me an example. Like, is it a 2,000 pula a night? Because I've heard there's like exorbitant. Call them exorbitant. Yeah. Like what can you pay for a night there? Like, how much do people pay for a night there?
Depends on where you are, who's hosting you and everything. But let's say anyway, from maybe 4K to 500K.
For what? 500K per what?
For the stay, which would be maybe 3
7
nights.
days. 3 nights. So who comes, and it's people from outside the country?
Obviously.
Celebrities come through. Will Smith was in Botswana when?
2020. Is it 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
So he stayed around that area. What was he doing in the country?
I couldn't even meet him. What is my life?
Yeah. Do you know people who met him?
I do. But I'm not gonna talk. This is not our moment to shine.
Oh, okay.
It's
not our moment to shine. So have you met any celebrities coming through to see the place? Or heard of any?
I've heard of them. but I was not fortunate to meet them myself.
So how is it like? Because the delta is swamp, right? It's a lot of waters, and access is very difficult. And I hear some of these camps are right in the middle of the delta.
Yeah.
How do people get there?
They go in there by boat. Like you would land in a closer airstrip. If this is a camp without an airstrip, you would land at whatever airstrip they have agreements with, and then go by car from the airstrip to the camp, or maybe from the airstrip to camp by boat.
Okay, so
or fly directly into camp.
Just when you say fly directly now, I see where the costs are coming from. That's why it's so expensive. Because you can't access it with car. That means if you fly in, you have to pay a big buck to get into that place.
Yeah.
But what do they enjoy seeing there? Like, what do clients tend to look for?
Honestly, it's different strokes for different folks. The people who come there wanting to see birds. The people who come there wanting to see...
What do you mean see birds?
Birding. Birds. I just want to see them.
I don't get it. How do I pay 10,000 pula to go and see a bird? Or 50K to go and see a bird? Do you mean that literally?
Birds, not beds. Do you know
that? I hear you.
Yeah, they do.
Huh?
They do.
What else do people go and see?
Some are interested in seeing part of the Big Five.
Okay.
Yeah. And then some are filming documentaries, and some you could find out somebody's writing a thesis on something, and they go there for different reasons. Some is purely recreational.
Yeah. Okay. And it's like, it seems to me like people go there to see the nature side of things. There's no like big malls. There isn't stuff like that.
No, they initially come to see the wildlife, even just the place. It's so serene. They come there from their expectation of what it is, and then they get to experience the hospitality there, and then that could be a reason to bring referrals or to come back.
So a lot of people come through referrals.
They do. They do, but that goes into... That's another untapped market, the marketing of it. We have not built a rapport where we could market it ourselves and for them to understand what it is. So they normally believe when it's a person like them with their experiences, with their expectations, telling them about it. But if it's you, or let's say, no, you should come to Botswana, there's this and that and that, they take it with a grain of salt. So there's another untapped market.
But do you call clients? I wonder, besides referrals, I can't base my business on referrals.
No. That wouldn't suffice.
How do you get people to come through? Besides that, because if most clients are outside the country,
okay, yes.
Agencies.
Yes, agencies.
Yeah.
Mostly it's agencies.
Do they ask to see diamonds? Or do they ask about diamonds? Because we're a diamond country.
They do. They do ask about them, but then, there's none on that side of the country for them,
You think that's an opportunity?
It is.
Yeah, to sell diamonds in the Delta. I think I've heard someone actually say something like that. A high-profile person, they were asking if they could buy diamond in the Delta. Because usually they from there they don't even come to the side. They don't come to.
No,
camps,
they fly from Mount to either OR Tambo or Namibia, then go back home.
Cool. Which continents are these people usually from? Is it European?
Yeah, mostly European.
Yeah.
Mostly, but also South America.
Okay. So, but most Botswana are guides.
Yes.
What is your role when? What do you do?
I can't tell.
You can't tell?
I can't tell.
Really? Okay, cool. So let's talk about being a mother.
Okay.
I know it's one of your,
very closest to my heart.
To your heart. How old were you when you became a mother?
20.
Boy. How was that like for you?
I was just drunk on excitement.
Which time? Because I hear there's no excitement later in the months of pregnancy.
Not that I was not with the pregnancy so much. The pregnancy was a haze, I was just young, panicking,
Yeah.
Fortunately I had support, but it's not an easy thing to accept being pregnant only 19 with no qualification, no job, nothing. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think you're too young?
When I think about it now, I think I was fine.
What do you think about it now?
Now, but then no.
Yeah. So you'd say you better have kids earlier.
I say don't have kids at all.
How?
I think what worked for me is not necessarily going to work for everybody, but just, nature is very amazing, because when I had my son, for some time, he became my whole personality. He was just my whole personality. I remember one time I even called myself Mahomete on Facebook. He was just my
everything.
He was just my personality, And very later on, actually after I had my second son, I was listening to Andrew Huberman, and he was describing pregnancy, what happens, and I was like, oh, so there was actually a chemical shift in my brain, and even the physical aspect of my brain changed, because when you're pregnant, your frontal cortex, the bigger part of your brain, where most things, logic, everything happens, it decreases in size.
When you are what?
When you're pregnant, it decreases in size.
Are you serious?
It does. And then your amygdala grows. That is
what is amygdala responsible for?
The amygdala is responsible for emotions.
Oh, okay.
That is why I feel like my child is not okay. That is why can... It's like they automatically know what to do, yet they've never done this before.
Also, why pregnant ladies say, I want this, I want to eat this, and it's out of season. So it's a big thing.
It is. So nature literally did me a solid, And some women don't go through that because maybe brains function differently. So maybe this person didn't get the proper doses of the proper hormones, and that's where you'll have people going through maybe prenatal depression, postnatal depression, or they struggle to connect to Wana, and normally we shun them because it happens to so many people that we start to believe it's natural, it's normal, and this is what should happen. So if somebody is unfortunate to not have that happen for them, we judge them. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So, according to the study that you said, Andrew Huberman, according to the study, when does the prefrontal cortex come back to its size?
After one from infancy stage.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So like a few months.
Hey, not even that, because it extends, it could extend till a toddler. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know what's the comparison of the amygdala between men and women, because I think research says, women tend to be emotional.
Yeah.
And you say that increases during that time.
Yeah. That is when now selfless, because a pregnant person just knows this is my most important task is keeping this child safe. They take ditshwetso tse eleng gore they're in the best interest of ngwana. Yeah.
I want to ask you a personal question.
Not a problem.
Do you think, okay, before I ask that personal question, do you think men know how to support women during pregnancy?
No.
We don't.
Very few do. And even those who do try, it's barely adequate. It's barely adequate, you know. And
this is something that you think we should learn as men.
Yes. But you know, in time, I've learned normally men, they respond to hierarchies, and other men, those are the top two things that they respond to. So, but because they don't particularly listen to women. They don't particularly do. And because sometimes those things are complex concepts for them to understand, they just relegate them. No, this is just you know, it's something that we're not going to engage with this. So where's the platform to teach them how to do it? So maybe it would have to come from us mothers raising sons to say, maybe instill it in the operating system, they could grow up to do better. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So then where do you get the support?
As women?
Yeah.
Honestly,
like that level, that detail that you're explaining there, because I'm trying to recall as well. I'm always confused when my wife was pregnant. I was always confused because, you know, this person is going through a very, you know, delicate process. It's not easy.
It's not.
Sometimes, you know, the only thing you can do is just be there.
Stand
there. Is there where I can help you? And, you know, the emotions go up and down.
The funny thing is, when I was expecting Mutswedi, the first, second mostly, I couldn't eat. I was struggling with morning sickness. I'd vomit a lot. So much that I lost weight. I couldn't even keep water down. You know, I'd become dehydrated, and my partner then would take me to the clinic because I couldn't
take water.
It was not palatable to me.
Yeah.
And then as the months progressed, it's very rare that I've heard of this, but he started having now the cravings, the morning sicknesses, in such rare cases, yes, maybe because Mutabana that experience lane, they can fathom it to some extent. But the support normally, most people just get it from their mothers. And, you know, our mothers, our aunties, our sisters, that's where most people get it.
Do you think the traditional ways work, or even women really need to go out there and learn how to deal with all the emotions that come through that? Because, you know, there's traditional ways that you say, no, there's that, and then there's actually studied ways how to deal with this.
I believe I'm so Afrocentric.
What is Afrocentric?
I believe in African ideologies, concepts, and they work. The only thing is, Botswana Barona, they faltered by not retaining this information at some point.
It's not recorded anyway.
It's not recorded, and
it's here.
It's here,
yeah.
And in here, they missed opportunities to ask their parents why even people around my age group is sort of taboo.
Yeah.
It is sort of taboo, but we lost on so much important information because we could be having that information but how ngwana, especially these generations coming after us, how sa mmolelle gore goreng go nna dingalo gore a ka tsaya that information, and they end up going with mostly the scientific ways because they're more detailed and more explanatory. So we don't keep because we missed an opportunity. You know, hey, you know, but nobody can really tell you why. And it was while I was listening to N.A. Andrew Huberman again that he explained the concept. He explained the concept. It's very important to rise before the sun.
Okay.
The cradle cap young one. But there's a circadian gland.
Okay.
There's a circadian gland. Light, when light goes through there, it activates your natural hormone to wake up.
Okay.
Your adrenaline kicks in, everything kicks in, and then it stays good. When it's triggered, it should last you about 16 hours. So I look 16 hours around 8-9.
Yeah.
You know, and that has gotten you through the day. And when because they're alternating, just like most hormones, they're alternating. So now when it drops down, your melatonin kicks in. So there's no longer this thing where I'm struggling with insomnia, this and that.
This was never explained by Bahola.
The way, you know.
And I'm glad that, you know, like you're explaining the fact that they actually work these things. There's no
they do.
Like description detail of how what it means really, but they actually work.
That is
quite interesting.
And it's very easy. So bagolo would tendency but it's a natural instinct to be curious. But you know? And now that I understand
wow.
And it has saved me a lot from both sleep medication, from everything, because
wow, that's quite interesting. Now, let's talk about mental health.
Yeah.
Do a lot of us really understand what it is? You know, you're talking about being Afrocentric. As a man, mental health. What are you talking about? What is your philosophy around it? Do you think we are well aware as Botswana, as young people, how important to take care of?
To get to a point where we will be fully functional, because mental health is an issue, I get. But the people who want to masquerade refusing to take responsibilities or laziness or they want to sweep it under the mental health rug. So then it takes away the validity of somebody who's genuinely struggling now. Because if get depressed and they realize they're depressed, they're not doing anything about it. Don't get me wrong, I've been depressed and I understand and they're not doing anything about it. They could be restricted by the state of the mind. They're not able, they could feel debilitated by the depression and the hormonal imbalance in the brain. I understand that, but they do things and they don't want to take responsibility for them. Because I am depressed. So people now feel like, hey, depression is just a defense. People don't learn how to communicate effectively. People act out on others in relationships. No, now I'm bipolar. So now somebody's genuinely struggling with bipolar and people feel like, you know? it's a serious issue for somebody else, and for somebody who's struggling with this mildly, aka khona go e batlela solution. They just want it to be bulked up with it as well. So it becomes a problem. It does.
Yeah.
And mental health, it's so serious, because when I was in that rut of depression dealing with it, I found out a lot gore people who had experienced maybe the first war, the second war, great famines and all that. Because when a lady is expecting, and they happen to be expecting a daughter, that daughter is going to be born with all of her ova, that's going to then one day make her. So there was a point where I was literally in my grandmother, and she could have experienced 60 years before I was born. I could inherit them. And when I heard that, I was like, makes sense why really the angry black women, because we were carried by women who experienced a lot of trauma and resentment and ridicule and capture. And they experienced those things. Maybe at times that they were carrying our mothers, and our mothers already had the ova that was going to make us. So most of this is hereditary, which is why people cannot conceptualize or we are overreacting or whatnot, because they cannot think. And you know how when issues of race are brought up in and around our generations, people, they'll say, but I never kept a slave. They'd say things like that. They didn't keep it, but Rona, if we happen to have any apprehension towards them, it's because it's hereditary. And it's not hereditary because we were told, but even physically it exists in our DNA. Yeah, so it becomes a problem.
What do you think of you are raising 2 boys?
Yes.
What do you think of the mental health around how boys are raised? I'm asking you the question because you're a mother, and a mother is, well, you are part of the child's life forever, or until
forever. Yeah.
But there's a point where you sort of hand over the child to the community. He leaves your nurturing. The community takes over, other men take over. But there's a lot of social ills that we see, and a lot of being blamed back to how the foundations, how the children were raised. What do you think about that?
I like the fact that you said, I'm going to be in this child forever, in his life forever. I remember one time Motswedi was beaten up by a teacher, and I showed up at school. I showed up, and I was not pleasant to deal with at that time, because you are beating him, and just expressing himself, not in a disrespectful manner, but just saying, this is what I think. You understand? And he's beaten up for that. So when a teacher, chances are umuruta standard 1, at most up to standard 3. That's when you're in his life. And you have taught him he could get reprimanded for expressing himself. That's what you're teaching my child. And becomes a problematic husband, and becomes a problematic teenager before even at that husbandhood. It's for me to deal with. Where now you taught him he has to suppress. You're gone. You understand? So I'm very intentional about how I show up as a mother. I will show up. That's one thing. I remember the time he was born, when I heard him cry, I grabbed him and I told him, hi baby, I'm here. And I've made it a point where I am here. I'm not saying he shouldn't be guided. He shouldn't be taught this is but you cannot reprimand Mwana and expect him to be comfortable to express himself the next time. You understand?
So we should be we should be able to, because like you're saying, if when you hand over your child to the community, the community includes the teachers, the school, other kids.
Yes.
We should be intentional about making sure that whatever I tell this kid is the same outside there. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying something along those lines. Because
you're not saying kids shouldn't be
guided.
How do you personally?
Really?
Okay.
Because
you believe in what? Talking, understanding.
Yes, I believe in cultivating your logic and your critical thinking. They're going to outgrow that. They're going to outgrow an age. Not just but there's going to be a point where I cannot physically do enough. Not how they could reiterate and beat me up.
So it's better to actually teach. That's not the solution.
So tell me, an age that threat because now they no longer perceive a danger. What guides them then?
Yeah. So now at that stage, the law. And is it good to be guided by the law?
That's how now at some point Mwana ending up in jail because they do not think things through and avoid where they would need punishment. I'm a very strict parent. I'm a very firm and strict parent, but I don't want to be followed obliviously and blindly. Who knows how long I'm here for? So hakesa go ruta go nna assertive, hakesa go ruta go ikemela, o tlo go emelwa ke mangwe and I'm not able to show up.
Because other people are gonna come in and
yes, gape hakesa go ha ke go rutile gore imagine this. I'm your parent. You perceive me as a power. I'm a power over you. And you do not question powers. You follow whatever they do. What happens? Form 1 form 3 is a power over him. His mind is okay. I get instructions. I follow. Another assertiveness to say, but no, that's not going to work for me. You understand?
Assertive seems, you strike me as a very, well, you're obviously assertive.
Yeah.
How important do you think assertiveness is to young women? Because it can come out as pride, arrogance.
Yes.
And that's not really, adored in the society.
No, I think assertiveness is what exactly is this person doing wrong? I don't get it. Assertion is very important because you need to, so you, as a person, you need to know this is me. I become me. But if you don't know exactly who you are, then people are going to be casting you in roles of what they think you should be. And you are going to, at some point, find yourself auditioning for those roles. You need to know who you are so that you know, oh, no, this is not for me. No, this is not for me. This is not for me. That's why I can have a conversation with a guy for about an hour or go on a date. And by the end of that, I know, Hori, this is not it. This is not for me. The ideologies, not that I don't understand the concept of differing opinions, not that I don't. The thing about me is, given information I will sit down, give myself an opportunity to unlearn what I knew and learn something new and relearn it if it's going to suit me well. But if you hear the concept, you're sitting at a table with a person, he sees a gay guy, he's walking past, and now conversation has to change, and for him talk about how he dislikes that, hey, how these people are this and that. I mean, you're not a tolerant person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a perfect person. Mm-hmm. There are going to be things about me that you don't like. And if you should just be voicing your opinions on things that affect you in way, no shape or form. Accept that they're beyond your control. You understand?
A lot of young women are not able to express that from the beginning. They I'm just speaking from my experience,
yes.
Like maybe, but they will rather, say, I'll see how things go. They see red flags, but they just continue to see will something come up. I don't know if it's the desperation to be with certain people or that, but usually they don't stand against that from the beginning. They don't say, I don't like this, this is where, and they'll rather go, what do you call that, when you're passive aggressive, you see that this person is not, and a guy will stalk you, and you don't express yourself, or no, I don't like this. Yeah.
I said before, there was never a rehearsal to life. So many things that come into play confidence because they were never affirmed from growing up. And when you see a 26-year-old girl, but in her is a 12-year-old that's needing to feel accepted. That's the person who cannot say no. You don't wake up to say no, how an average because you understand? So saying no, it's not easy. Speaking up for what you like, it's called a whole array of things which are not pleasant. Nobody wants to be classified as that. But for me, I'd be like, but then, even if I am one thing.
Why do you think some people get stalked? Some girls get stalked. I just want to, make the conversation more specific.
Okay.
Why do you think girls get stalked?
I feel like for somebody to start stalking, they have to be inept in some spectrum, or either social skills, approach just a pervert, either from societal grooming, but stalking is it's something it's like it's out of the movies. A concept of it, we struggle to conceptualize it. I've had a stalker. I was running for for SRC General Secretary when I was in BAC Francistown. So a friend of mine comes over, she's like, I'm sure you're gonna win. Somebody's there told me, but what, and they're posting on social media. And I was like, no, I don't feel like it, and it's not safe for us to be walking Busiro from Mojaral 25 FCTVE. Yes. So I'm like, okay, I'll take you halfway, and our friends will meet you on the way in Botswana. But I don't feel like going, I'm tired. So as I get back, I can't find my keys. And I'm assuming what I just misplaced them.
What kind of, are you staying in you're staying outside the campus?
Yes, I was living outside campus renting. So, get 2.5. I have a housemate, but she was not around for a long time. Attachment in Kokasan.
Okay.
And then there's me this side, and then there's the bathroom. So this person, the key number, and then about a mark a padlock. So na ke boniki ke itlhoboga ka moso ke go molong ke tsana mo shopong ya ma China. It's those locks tsa bo M what not
tricycle
re be ke reka key ya go bula ntlo ya me ke lotlela ntlo ya me. For a good minute I did not notice gore go ha gona le motho o tsena mo ntlong. I didn't see, and so I don't know if or he just scheduled his times to when they're not there. This person would go in. So like every other person, that is why paranoia. You know I pay details to everything. I will know I had my timetable on the wall. This person he could study my habits.
Oh, they're looking at your timetable.
So it's on the wall.
Should be here.
So
this time she's at class.
Yeah. So there would be things there where I'll be like, up until at that point, I don't know what this person
You get confused.
Yeah. It's
not a nice feeling.
It's not. It's not. Kuri, it was. I remember that I think it was maybe 7 days later of this persistently. 10 days later of this persisting. Ha ke le mo baseng ke tswa Francis Town ke tla ga borone. Ke a ke tshwere jini ka le bogo eo. Losing weight in that short time.
Because you were worried about this thing?
Yes, my safety. That's the thing.
Did you ever report it?
I did. You know what he did? The other day I reported Go Gerald Police and they were like, no, ratla. Then it happened again, I reported again. Then this time they came and they were dusting and checking for fingerprints on the window sill and the window pane. Yeah. Mapodisa ho ba follow us tlhago and then hona le ha se hella nteng ha jena skontiri hona la tlhago so se hella nteng. Now we don't know what we're dealing with. Mapodisa ba tla, and when the police were leaving, still within my view, ke santse ke bona kolo ya mapodisi le hane, he knocked. That was so traumatic. But I remember
he watched too much movie. I suspect he was a guy.
Yeah. And there was one time. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The first time the only thing he took from my house was my phone. Only thing. There's a laptop. There's money. There's only phone hela, so that you're not able to answer call to ask for help. And my boyfriend at the time called the phone. And the following day I get to school, I do my phone. Hey, Mogay. Hey.
And then
he Francis
Town Mabule is not, it's like north and south.
Yeah. But by the end of that night, I go Francis Town. By the end of that night, I go Francis Town. So my friends were like, we're going to keep you company till he gets here. The guys as well. So they're with me. So one of them, I'm like, gangster, I got what I can look Motot and I got Hagulil. Lotla Lobuni, La Reoki, what that la bula. His phone is not there. That person, because we were not gone for more than 30 minutes, not even 15, honestly.
Damn. So you reported they never caught the guy.
Those clowns called me after 3 years. Bantabari, can I come identify him?
3 years? Is it actually something that you can be charged with, stalking, Botswana?
I should hope so. But yes, it is.
It's very dangerous, and I'd like to know whether you can actually get charged, because that's really scary. I guess some boyfriends would have said, "Ah, shit, I'm not doing this." Because
and you know what it is. Most people felt like, obviously, it's some guy. She was, it's as if because the boyfriend is here. Fortunately for me, I'm sure or something.
Sure. That's hectic.
It took so much out of me, and it has altered my personality. Even today, I read something that happened 9 years ago. Even to this day.
The other day you said it's more difficult to be a woman.
It is.
Than to be a man.
It is.
Why did you say that? I know this example, what you just said about stalking, could be one of the reasons why you said that.
I rest my case.
But why do you feel like it's difficult to be a woman?
It's difficult because men perceive you as prey. At most times, they perceive you as prey. Women perceive you as a threat.
How?
Threat
to what?
That is where we are going to address.
Women see you as a threat for what? For their men?
For their men, for men's attention, for opportunities, for everything. It's so, but I didn't label. Even advice you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It stems from somewhere. It stems from somewhere. And what a beautiful concept girlhood is, just to have a sisterhood, a friendship that's just women loving other women. It's so beautiful.
I guess.
It is. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed looking over our shoulders because women stab other women in the back.
Did you say you endure or enjoy?
We enjoy. What do we enjoy?
You said you enjoy looking over your shoulder.
No, we have to. When we are supposed to enjoy girlhood, we look over our shoulders because you never know.
So you're looking over your shoulder for guys and for ladies.
Yeah. There's no peace. You can get to an office setup or an elderly lady bullying a younger one.
And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. If that young girl is not assertive, she's finished.
Exactly.
She turns into a crybaby.
Exactly. That is what I always say. It's men. They have the freedom of living without a perception of danger daunting their every moment. You understand? I could be a woman. And let's say I feel like I need to take a walk just for my mental health. I need to take a walk to relax, to unwind. I don't always have that luxury.
You have to think about...
I could get raped. I could get killed.
Anything bad could happen.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a stupid question. And I don't have a stance on it, right? You talked about stalking. You talked about, the freedom just to walk around.
Yeah.
Do you think it's unfair to judge women or to imply that certain things happen to women because of the way they dress?
I've blocked people for having that opinion. I don't know. I refuse to believe how you dress is what could make you raped. No, I refuse to believe that. People rape toddlers. People raped fully clothed women. People rape. Everything. They'll still rape you.
You don't have the rape is quite extreme. But do you have any reservation about how women should wear?
No.
Wear what you like wherever you want.
You know who my best friend is? She started the movement, well, I wear what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is the movement about?
Saying to, people have this perception ya gore ga o apereana wa aparetse gore o batla go bonwa, o batla go tshwariwa, o batla go irang.
Is it never true?
The percentage at which it's true it's not significant enough to make
fair enough.
To make it a bold statement like that.
Okay.
It's not.
Yeah.
Do you know gore gompieno o khona go gola hey matshweka ga kware in a family setup
yeah.
And you get to that point where you're toying with self-care and self-love. You're trying to learn how to understand and accept yourself. You like how you feel. You genuinely like saparo. You understand? And it's nothing to do with the funny thing is, I'll never believe it. We don't hear of there are men who are gay. Obana, a topless man. He could get aroused, but he's not gonna pounce on someone. It's very rare that they would. So yeah, so with the women they do it because they expect no reiteration.
I'm gonna leave that one. I see it's very passionate to you. So
it is.
Tell us a bit about that movement. You say I wear what
I wear what I want.
I wear what I want. How is it? How is it doing? Like, who is it aimed at? Because the reason I'm asking you that older women
are against that.
Would be against that.
They are, and it's what they can. And the thing. Do you know that example teachers used to say empty cans make the loudest noise?
Mm-hmm.
People with very out of pocket, very standoffish opinions. Those people, they wouldn't close their mouths even if you paid them to. When you're out at a place or in a shop, hey, Mwana is self-expressing. She's enjoying her youth.
The girlhood.
She's the girl.
Yeah.
She's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can tell we're building confidence.
She feels good.
She feels good. She's happy.
Feel like it.
Yeah. Before anybody.
Hey, bo mama.
Yes. But langwana. Hey. Guys, can you please? This is an official statement. You feel adequately secured. You're not intimidated by other women. I remember one time, 6 weeks checkup for Musako. Because a baddie is a baddie, yeah. I bet it up.
Yeah.
I bet it up.
You rocked.
I bedded up. And there was this little girl, I bear a crop top, a jean, and a block on a heel. She was strutting there, feeling herself. I'm like, yes, my tribe, I like.
Yeah.
You know? And the lady, this lady will gonna le ngwana o kana, you know. Hey, kana you find out this person is resenting you because she has been disrespected by her partner, opting for people like you. But now they're channeling this to you when I also
opting for people like you.
When I also le highly bokgoni bope ba go ka address a situation you understand? It for me it's problematic.
So they're imposing what, you know, how they feel on other people.
That's the problem ka society.
Yeah.
That's the problem ka society. Especially basadi. Let me leave society. We are a problem. We are a weapon formed against ourselves. We won't hold our partner accountable. You could be cheated and disrespected by your partner in any way, shape, or form. And you would call them degrading names. You know? Or your age mates or whatever. But we channel our anger at them. People who we didn't have any agreement with, people who we have no social contract with. I'm with you, you're with me. This is our relationship.
But so I think they have a point. Maybe the approach is wrong, but don't you think they have a point to warn and say there's predators?
There is predators
out there.
Yes, there is.
Dress like this, my child. Don't you think there's a bit of that though?
You know, there's this lady called Nangami on TikTok. She's a Kenyan influencer. She talks a lot about it's content that's new to my timeline. But she talks about exist in the world as it is, not as you wish it would be.
Okay.
Accept it for what it is. I get it. In an ideal world, Basadi would stick le Basadi Babangwe, they would not fight them, they would not sabotage them. I get it. But they do. And now you have to find yourself fighting against predators and
other praise.
Kuri.
So before we conclude, I want to ask you some of your philosophies. But before that,
you are treading carefully, I see.
I am. I'm trying to tread carefully. Because, you know, tradition will always be there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tradition will always be there. And
it should be
the
there.
noise will always be there. But the advice from adults, I think it goes without saying.
It does.
I believe in, you know, listening to someone, taking what they're saying, and then go back and, you know, decide what you want to do with that. I don't think older men should stop talking. Maybe there and there the approach should change, right? But I also, you know, feel like what you are saying, Jorge, you know, people should be allowed to live the way they want, you know, express themselves, because like you're saying, we came here, it's the first time every one of us is here. So the formulas are there or they are not there. So whatever formula I have, I should be allowed to experience it for myself. But I wanted to ask you, Jorge, what is your philosophy on marriage? I'm asking that because, you know, most men look at women a certain way and qualify them for a war.
Marriage material.
Marriage material. What is your philosophy? Because you know how nyalwa. You are married to a certain gentleman, right? But you're also married to the family.
Yes.
In a way, because they have
ba go nyadisitse ba investile
Yes, ba investile. Ngwana is family to you, is also family to them, you know. But there will always be this, disagreements of, I think things should be this way. Now, no, this is where I came from here. This is how we do things. What is your philosophy on marriage? Be careful. Be careful what you say, sir.
Okay, I'll tell you this. Marriage it's a social contract. It's a social contract, and people are not privy to it being a social contract. They don't want to explain what it is. They always want to tell us what it is not. And for me, I don't know, because I'm not married, I don't know what it takes for people, but I believe it's a serious matter. Wa bo batla go tshela lene, wa bo envision go tshela lene, go simolla a family, a whole new bloodline with when you get married to a person. But we struggle with living with ourselves. We're not honest to ourselves. So it's very hard now to go and live le motho yo mongwe. I don't know what I stand for. I don't know what I represent. I don't know what my boundaries are. I struggle to communicate. And people batla bana lebo o mphitletse ke ntse yana ya no batla go change. But shouldn't love accommodate? Like where do we draw the line? Okay, ke ka hetola se to accommodate you, or no, this is now my boundary. So marriage in nadingalo, because people o khone tlhalela gore re o dumela gore ga ntshitse bogadi anong wa go own and gala ka la ibua go le pele gore me ke letsa go nna motho wa me. I still want to be my own person.
I come as myself.
This
person comes as themselves. Yeah.
And tota go nna dingalo ha o tla go setse go circulate dikgang tsa gore batho ba re bogadi bo abolishiwe. Dikgang ha di hele ka moso o fela gore no ntirisa, and there's a social burden again that's put on magetla bazadi gore ha lapa le sa kgonahala. If we didn't work out, we put the responsibility on a mme gore she can't keep a man. But does he want to be kept? He's a fully grown adult. I can't decide for him. I can't motivate him to act right. You understand? So my philosophy on marriage is that be with a person who is for you, and be intentional about being in it. Know why you let that person be a life partner. Again, switch roles if need be. If there is a time you feel like, you know what, I've been the leader, but that's wrong with me. To fulfill this. I believe you should marry a person who you would feel comfortable with them assuming that role if the need arises. Marry a person who's for you, or at the very least you share core values with. You need to have the same goals. It's not just but peace. For me, peace is very paramount. It's everything. It's very paramount. So you cannot afford to be with a person who
Two cannot work together unless they agree.
When you watch these statistics, apparently when a couple the man doesn't live long. 5 years
Max
even. A lady can have a good 20 years to herself.
Why is that? Why is that? Why is it?
And you go through another research, and again they say if you take two people living relatively similar lives, the lady who is married has a shorter life expectancy to your single. It's sad.
I had no. Is it the same with men? That research. Because I had married men tend to live longer.
Because they're catered to. They're catered to. And being Mosadi.
Are you implying that married women are not happy?
No, they are. Some are.
What was the research saying? Why do they tend not to live long? I'm curious to know.
Because of the social expectation, they give out so much of them that they're no longer taking care of themselves. Regardless of how tired she is, she has to homemake, she has to do this and that.
I'm reminded of, I remember, a video we saw, Meghan Markle, when she was pregnant, and she was rocking heels, man. I was like, what does this woman have to do just to wear pumps, please? It's like she had to, and a lot of things, it seemed like she had to prove herself. I was like, shame, man. It's not easy. Tshegofatso, thank you so much. I want you to look on that camera.
Okay.
And talk to a young woman, a young girl who is pregnant, but they are confused.
Okay.
They feel like I made a mistake. I feel like I don't know what's the future holding for me. Speak to that girl.
Okay. Mostly I'd like to say, if you're still having that pregnancy, I'm proud that you chose to not abort it. I'm proud that you chose that thing. It could be socio-economic things that made you or whatever, but accept your situation. Trust that nature is going to come through and make you the best person for that job of mothering that child. And nobody knows what they're doing. Keep your feet on the ground, keep moving. I promise it gets better. That's what I would say to them. And if there's maybe a guy who no longer has impregnated this girl and he's also panicking, he's also confused, explain your fears. Do not use aggression as a coping mechanism. Just tell her that you're scared. It doesn't make you less of a human being. You are a person, you're scared, and communicate. And remember that there was a time that you actually liked this person, and try to find that person, because as much as she's going through everything, there's still that her inside. Yeah.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Gamu.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and not only young women will learn from this.
I hope so.
A lot of guys should stop stalking. I hate it. I can't imagine that trauma on my daughter. Yeah, it's
wife material because of my TikTok nonsense. Yeah, no, you've relegated me.
Your person is there.
You've relegated me to
nothing's gonna happen to that. But anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gamo.
Thank you so much, guys. See you. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.